And bam, do you see it? Does it show up? You're live right there on the screen on your side.
I see the ticker. I think
The
we're
ticker's
live.
going. Okay, it's for real. All right. For the sake of being formal, welcome everyone to the huge live stream. This is we're doing live streams leading up to the huge convention for the purpose of making sure we can introduce as many of our speakers as we can to a broader audience, so that when you but when people are watching, when you come to the huge convention, you're going to have to choose from 40 different breakout sessions. And you're like, how do you know? Well, you know because you get to step in right now and meet Justin Noggle. Justin is the owner of Sky Power Wash. You also do Sky Holiday Lights. You're going to be teaching at the huge convention in a breakout session. We should probably call it a breakthrough session, because you're going to be handling a really fundamentally excellent topic that's important for anybody's business growth. But before we dig into that, let's back up and bring people up to speed on Justin. So you're in Power Wash and home services. When did you get started, and why in God's name would you start a home service business?
I ask myself that question a lot. I officially started Sky Power Wash in 2015. I was commercial fishing at the same time. So I long lined for my entire life, 6 years old up until I was 30. And I was doing some pressure washing with my father-in-law for the last couple seasons. And I enjoyed it. It's a satisfying job, right? You see the before and after. I liked it, but I saw how my father-in-law ran his operation, and I saw a lot of inefficiencies, and I saw opportunities to improve on it. And so when the opportunity came along to purchase his main washer that he used, I bought it, and then with all intentions to sell it. And when it was sitting there on Craigslist not selling, I decided, why not run some ads, see what happens. Started washing a few driveways and ran it on the side in the off season for the first year and a half, maybe 2.
Yeah.
And then when my daughter Harper was born, that's when I went full time. At that point, I knew I couldn't miss 3-month chunks of her life. And I'm very glad that I did, because I would have missed her first steps.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it was more to just be home.
Yeah. Were you commercial fishing? Were you in Alaska, or is there more commercial fishing even closer to where you are in Northwest Washington?
Yeah. I mean, I've fished, other than Canada, I've fished pretty much from the west end of Kodiak Island. So Bristol Bay, fished that a little bit, went all the way down through Southeast, and we're fishing out on the continental shelf, like right where it drops off to the abyss.
Yeah.
So we were long lining halibut, fished all the way down Southeast, fished off Washington, Oregon, tuna fishing. That's a blast. Probably my favorite fishery, but yeah, all up and down.
Okay. For noobs like me, like when you're tuna fishing, is that also long lining like you were talking about with halibut? Is it same or is it different? How's that fish?
I believe they do a long line version of tuna on the East Coast. For us, it was called trolling. So you have 10 lines that are out in the water, up to maybe 150 feet behind the boat. And then you're just trolling at 6 knots, 7 miles an hour, and basically looking for jumper schools of fish. So you're surface fishing with the trolling. With long lining, you're down, somewhere around 1,000 feet of water. So you're just dropping an anchor on both ends and then setting a set that's 3 miles long with a hook every 5 feet. So we're running 6,000 hooks a day.
Wow. Okay. That's a whole different world for me. That's amazing.
Yeah. Oh, it's a great experience. It's a grind, the actual fishing, but to be able to get up into Alaska and experience nature up there, the scale of Alaska is insane. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. But goes on the bucket list. So you worked with your father-in-law for a while, and then you decided I'm gonna side hustle this, and you did answer the questions like why. I jokingly asked, why in the name of God would you start a home service business? But a big motivator is like, I had a child and I didn't want to miss it. So that's excellent. So how long did you go along where it was just Justin or just you and a helper before you started really hiring and learning to run a business, not a good job?
Boy, I want to say, I mean, I had a helper fairly early on, kind of off and on, just a little bit here and there. Ran through a few friends, hired some not so great hires. You know, I was listening to Brandon talk earlier.
Yeah.
Went through the same struggles, and then came across Conquer, you know, the program that Brandon ran, and got hooked up with Michael Gregory as my coach. And that's when we actually started turning it into a real business rather than just a job for Justin. And that's when I started making some better hires over the years and slowly dialed that in. So, I mean, it's been, I think it was 2018, whenever Conquer started is when I joined that. And then maybe 19, can't remember, but I remember walking through the snow, putting 20 miles in February, dropping postcards on people's doors because Josh Latimer gave me a one-on-one call and convinced me that I should do some kind of sales rather than just automating the whole business when I'm doing 100,000 in revenue.
Yeah.
And then Conquer really helped me, you know, my coach helped me understand numbers and the value in bringing in the right people.
Right on. So you're putting out flyers in the snow. I mean, do you have the opportunity when you're doing that? Did you talk to anybody? Did people go, "Are you crazy? What are you doing? It's snowing. We're not going to wash our house." What was going on there?
You know, at that time, I was such an introvert that I was afraid to talk to anybody. Mm-hmm. So I'd take the flyer, I'd go up to their door, and then I'd run away. And if they were outside, I would skip that. I mean, the best opportunity, right? Yeah. Oh, yeah. If they're out there in their driveway, I didn't want to be a nuisance, right? Like I just felt like a pest immediately. So, yeah, no, I didn't talk to anyone. I just put headphones in, listened to a podcast or an audio book, and then just ran miles.
Okay. So what was the turning point where you started actually talking to people? And like at this point, certainly, I mean, you're going to be teaching in front of hundreds of people. I wouldn't classify that as an introvert type of thing to do.
I mean, I still consider myself an introvert. I think it's exposure therapy, really. I joined, I guess the first opportunity to get a little bit more of like the public speaking type thing was a local chamber of commerce. And there I would have to do little plugs, get up on stage and talk in front of maybe 30 people or something like that. And, you know, the heart's going like this, like the whole time. Every second that mic's in my hand, it's just racing. And then joined other chambers, joined networking groups, and then I had to do a few of those, 45-minute presentations. And then over time, it got to the point where, sure, the heart's going to race a little bit coming up to the stage. But then once I'm up there, if I know one person in the audience, I'm totally fine. So it's definitely not something that it comes natural to me at all, but I enjoy it now.
Okay. Good. So what's sort of the scope of your business now?
So, I mean, you hit it a bit. So it's Sky Power Wash, Sky Holiday Lights are kind of the two branches. Mm-hmm. So we're exterior cleaning. So roofs, gutters, windows, the typical soft washing, pressure washing. We also are offering permanent lights, holiday lights, dryer vents. So it's kind of changed over the years. When I first started, I started adding on a whole bunch of services, thinking that was the way to make more money. Mm-hmm. And then when I started hiring, that's when I realized that is not the way to make more money. Time to niche down so I can train properly.
Yeah.
So we pared down our services, got pretty lean on our offering, learned how to train a little bit, and then started adding on again. Okay.
Yeah. So when you had added a lot of services, this is pretty common. I did the same thing. Like, oh, we can do that. You get a request. You're like, yeah. And then trying to train somebody to do things that you don't do a lot of. Like, was there did you ever have maybe a disaster story or, something like, yep, my guy really tore something to pieces because he didn't know and I didn't train him and that was my fault. But here we go.
Oh,
without incriminating anyone legally, you can tell the story.
Oh, I could do that too. I mean, there is a massive list in my head of just disaster stories. I think the best one was the first job I left somebody at. The first job I left an employee alone. I got a call. I hadn't even left the neighborhood, I don't think. And he says, Justin, I messed up. I didn't connect the coupler. So we're using a downstream injector, which has pressure behind it. He didn't get the coupler seated right. And so he turns pressure to it, it pops, and it just starts flying around. And he broke 2 glass railings on this deck. And that was 5 minutes after leaving him alone, if that. And the customer was amazing. It was probably a $500 fix after I did a miscut on the glass the first time. Yeah. And then, but he was super sympathetic to it. And I mean, that should have been my indicator to quit right then. So, but I'm stubborn. I can't.
Not just going to quit. Yeah.
No. So, but it's those, you know, instances those are where you grow the most. You know, I can't remember who said it, but one of my favorite sayings is you win or you learn. Mm-hmm. And either way, that's an opportunity, right? So if something goes bad, that's when you're going to learn not to do that again. And you can build that knowledge bank and pass it on to other people. So, yeah. So I welcome failure now.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that. I still don't like it, but I like the growth that comes from it. I would rather everything just be perfect, but I don't know. I'm sure this is just human nature. When you're a kid and you wanted to learn to ride a bike or a skateboard, you didn't care if you fell 80,000 times. You're going to get back up and keep going. If you're like, you end up with, black eye and everything else, but you just get back up. But as we get a little more mature, we're like, I don't want to fall down. I don't want people to see me fall down because I'm pretty competent in the things that I do. But that also restricts growth by not wanting to look foolish, by learning something new because, you're supposed to be an expert at something. So.
For sure. Yeah. Fail fast. That's another big one. It's just, go try. It's not going to be right the first time. I just expect it not to be right. When it goes right, that's awesome. But my first iteration of anything I know is not going to be perfect.
Well, you mentioned earlier, because I asked you, well, how did you get comfortable speaking in front of people and being less introverted? And you said exposure therapy, and you mentioned Chamber of Commerce and speaking opportunities. And that leans into your teaching title for the huge convention is $1 Million Connections. And it's got a tagline, but it's all about networking, the mindset of networking. Where did that click for you? You're like, I need to do this.
So the huge has been it's been huge for me. I was there for Branson. I don't know if that was the last one. I've been to a couple huge, and while I was there, I think it was there that Michael Grigory, the current coach, or my coach at the time, we were talking about something that was going horrifically wrong in the business, like usual. And he was telling me how I would say that or tell that story on stage one day. And so I always knew that this needed to be something that I pursued. I wanted to be able to get it out there that, hey, I'm not that far removed from where everyone is that's going to be in attendance here. I mean, there's going to be lots that are way above me, lots that are way below me. But I just knew that I wanted to be able to help that person that was in my seat at that time. And if I can give some kind of value, I want to do that. And I've found over the years that for me, I can do a one-on-one connection with most people pretty easily. I can find find something to relate with them, and I can understand like where they're coming from. Like, I like listening to people. It doesn't matter who it is. Like, I'll talk to somebody that's sitting on the street corner, like asking for money, that's high on meth. And I still get value out of that conversation. So I love talking to people, and and I've seen, especially during COVID, everyone was so isolated that they just switched to text messaging. Like, phone calls don't exist. I still don't love the phone, but the face-to-face just got so much more awkward with people. And I think that's a skill that's kind of faded out over time. And it's really, it's important. You need that face-to-face with people. And that's how you build friendships and relationships. And it's just putting myself out there and not being afraid of looking like an idiot has really helped a lot. I go in knowing that I have a gigantic ignorance gap from, the person I'm talking with. Like, what can I offer this person? Probably nothing, but still, take the shot, and it usually works out.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So I don't want you to give away everything that you're going to teach, but what are some of the two questions? One, what's the fundamental value of networking? Because it's a common saying. It's like your network is your net worth. So what's the value of networking? And then for somebody that struggles, like I would rather not do that, or maybe they're Gen Z, they're my kids' age, and they would, like, my kids don't want me to phone them. I have to text them and say, hey, can I call?
Yeah.
And then they'll go, no, just tell me on text.
Yeah.
They don't mind talking to me, but when I just call, they're like, why didn't you text me first? So that's kind of an age that we live in. So there's the value of the network. And then there's like, how do I start actually networking and being good at it?
Yeah. I mean, so in order for somebody to purchase from you, they have to know, like, and trust you. And it's really hard to build. Maybe you can through text now with the Gen, whatever we were at, Y or whatever you mentioned.
Everyone.
How old am I? But it's really hard to connect with people through text. I mean, when you're having a real conversation, I always switch it to voice. Like, so much gets lost in text. Mm-hmm. So having that skill to just be able to communicate with somebody, it's extremely valuable in building your business or just your life, really, in general. So I'm sorry, what was the second question? There was
same question is like, how do we bridge that gap? And like, I'm nervous. I don't like to talk to people, but I know I've got to. So I get forced into this networking scenario. How do I actually, like, what do I do? Because my inclination is I'm going to stand near the wall and watch everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. That was me too. So I was in the Stillaguamish chamber. That small chamber is the first one that I joined. And that was the first, like, forced social interaction with people I don't know. I mean, other than the usual party, where I would stand in the corner or find one person that I knew and go talk to them and avoid everybody else. But finding somebody that's extroverted to go with, that will introduce you and break that ice until you get your wheels, makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
My icebreaker now is my daughter. Harper is just an extreme extrovert. And so hopefully she'll be there at the Huge. But I took her down to, I think it was Responsicon down in Phoenix. And man, all she wanted to do was swim in the pool. And so she's going up to everyone that she could find and asking them if they knew how to swim. Everybody says yes, but nobody would take her to the pool.
Oh, no.
They had to learn, of course. And then she finally made the connection with Kurt's daughter and hung out with her for a few hours. And then was just chatting with Kurt while she's walking. And so point being, if you have somebody there that is not afraid to just walk up and talk to people, makes a big difference. Jay was the president of the chamber at the time, and he was the one that kind of got me out of my shell, talking to people and not hiding in that corner, which I still did for at least half a dozen visits. But you just expose yourself to it, and eventually you learn how to shimmy up to a conversation, find a good point where you can relate to something they're saying, and then get yourself into it.
Right. All right, here I'm going to pop in. Do you know Craig? Hey, Craig, good to see you. Craig Hensel, right when you were saying find your guy that's an extrovert or somebody that doesn't mind talking to people and bring them with you, Craig popped in. I was like, that's who I'd bring. I'd bring Craig. I don't know if he's extrovert, but he's going to be doing rolling with the window cleaners. He's got a big history exhibit for Window Cleaning World, but he's so passionate about the industry that he's ebullient. So I have to check myself. Too talkative to it. And Craig, you put your daughter's name in here. Is Grace the opposite? Or are you like making the point, hey, Grace, bring somebody with you? maybe. Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
I
I could see
do
that being
too.
a problem.
Funny story. When I started back in our little town, like I didn't know a ton of people. We'd moved here from out of state. Um, and Craig says grace is the balance, which I agree. That's awesome. There's Missoula Children's Theater is here, and they do a lot of cool stuff with kids. And one of my kids was in one of their productions, and I went and saw. I was like, they've got this beautiful building. They do such good work with kids. And the glass was filthy. So I had a neighbor who was on the board, and I'm like, Steve, who do I need to talk to? I'm going to volunteer and clean all the windows over there and make the place look good. They deserve it. I'll shorten the story. I ended up going to a board meeting, met a couple of people. We volunteered and did the work. And one of the board members called me, and she was a prominent realtor in our town. And she goes, you need to join the VIP program, and you need to go to that VIP thing every month for 5 months of the year. It's when they showcase the new shows that are coming out. And she said, it's $1,000 a year. And I was like, I couldn't pay $1,000 for a car. I'd be walking. We don't have any money. She's like, figure it out and do it. So we end up doing it. She says, all the movers and shakers in the city go to that. That's the room you need to be in. So I did. And I stood on the wall. And then I brought my wife, and we stood on the wall together. And then one time I was just so frustrated. I was like, I'm not meeting anybody. I'm wasting this opportunity. So I decided to scan the room. I found like the grumpiest looking old dude that I could find. It just looked like a curmudgeon. And I walked up, and I made myself, so I stuck it in my hand. I said, hey, my name's Sid. I don't think we've met. What's your name? And he tells me. And then I just started interviewing him. And I was like, oh, really? Well, how do you fit to blah, blah, blah. And ask him questions. I swear he never found out anything about me other than my name. And I just asked him questions. He started talking. And then about a week later, I got feedback from a friend of mine who used to be on the board. And she's like, you remember Dale Carter? I'm like, yeah, I met him at the thing. She said, he called me and he said, I met the most interesting person I've met in a decade. Mm-hmm. At the end, I was like, he knows nothing about me.
Yep.
And then that's how I clicked. I was like, I don't have to, because I was so self-conscious about being a window cleaner in a room full of rich people that I didn't want to say anything. I was like, holy cow, I don't have to say anything. I just have to ask Justin all the questions and let you talk.
That's it. Yeah. People's favorite sound is their own voice. And I've had that same feedback. I don't know how many times. The best conversations are where you let them speak. I mean, my rule of thumb is let them speak 2/3 of the time. I speak 1/3 of the time, and just be interested. Like if you're showing interest in something that they're saying, they'll go on forever, and they think it's the best conversation ever, but you said nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So do you have a story of a time where you made a connection that connection had a big impact on your life or business?
Oh, yeah. I gotta make sure I'm not blowing my speech.
Okay.
I can give one. Yeah. I mean, maybe I should review the slide deck before I say. I guess Tommy Mello. I mean, you know Tommy.
Yeah.
So he was our keynote for the first Conquer Summit. It was hilarious. Honestly, like that guy has so much energy, so much ADHD. But so he's the first, I think he was the first on stage in the morning, came out of his room, drank like 2 Zip Fizz, I think he said. And so he was just wired.
He's
right? Oh yeah. And just slide decks all out of order. I mean, it was like, he would go from subject to subject and just bounce around, but every single one was just loaded with knowledge. Like it was amazing. I could tell that he was just trying to pack as much as he could as fast as possible. And I was getting it. And it was awesome. So I run into him, it must've been that evening, and he had a group around him, and he's offering anybody that's there, like anytime you want to come down, tour my shop, the offer's open. And I was, that's in the memory bank. I'm like, this elite guy is offering this. I've got to take him up on it at some point. And so when the Conquer Summit got canceled for COVID, we were supposed to go to Cabo, I think. Mm-hmm. We ended up going to Phoenix and just messaged him. I had no idea how to get a hold of him. So I messaged him on Facebook. He connects me with Bree, who he's married to or marrying now, who was, it was working. And so she coordinates it, and I'm just expecting to get one of his low level. ADHD does roll.
It's a superpower.
But, yeah, I've got it too. So anyway, I'm expecting to get one of his, lower level guys just to show us around and stuff. But then Tommy comes around the corner and, what's up, guys? And then he spends an hour and a half with me, my wife, and Ryan, and drove us around to all of his shops, took a tour of everything in his warehouse, his training facility. And, I've reached out to him a few times. He helped me I've done one acquisition. He connected me with one of his high level people to write the letter, the legal document, and help me understand what I should be looking for. I mean, that's probably $5,000 worth of value, just the time I got with that guy.
Yeah.
And then just like having somebody like that to be able to, check in with and bounce an idea off of that. I mean, I'm trying to be careful. You got to be careful leveraging a high level relationship, but if I need some advice, he'll get back to me. It's wild.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fascinating that, like, just in not, you got to utilize your network, not manipulate, or not use it, but utilize it. But so often, like, you have a problem that you're trying to solve, and just knowing the right person gets you to the answer. Or like, if there's a connection, you're trying to get the contract at the big hospital in town, and you can cold call it for years and get nowhere. Or you meet a guy that knows the guy, and they just give you, there's one introduction email. This happened to me way too many times, where I've tried to get a contract for 4 years, and then I made a friend that knows the guy, and they introduced by email, and he's like, "Oh, hell yeah, come on in, like next week." And then you get to, I'm like, we've been here all along, been trying, but you just need to, it's like flicking, connecting the electricity with a switch. Like, just have to have contact.
Yeah. And that's what I've realized is being a connector is insane amounts of value. So if the more people that that can do the thing that can help the person, the more value you bring. I can solve a lot of problems. I can think through things, but I don't know way more than I know. Maybe I know nothing. I don't know. But anyway, so like if somebody has a problem, I'm just thinking through my Rolodex in my head, like, who could solve this problem for them? How can I connect them?
Yeah.
In a way that's mutually beneficial, or pre-frame it with the person I'm connecting them with. So that's a very simple way to deliver a massive amount of value to people.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that's Joe Polish's career, basically, after being a marketing guy, was just connecting people.
Yeah.
And he's turned that into an industry.
Yeah. No, I resonated a lot with him. Tommy, that's another Tommy thing. I went to Vertical Track a few years ago, and Joe was speaking on stage, and I was just like, this is true. Like, all of this just hits, that's it. I mean, he's a universal connector. He can connect to anybody. He can get in contact with basically anybody on the planet. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Craig says, sell yourself and seal. Well, Craig, will you clarify? Seal whatever you're selling. Sell yourself, and is it sell? Are you talking about animals?
Sell whatever you're selling. Seal it. Yeah. I mean, he might be talking about seal coating.
Yeah, no, that's maybe seal coating, or maybe it's like or you got a lot of seals and sea lions out there in your part of the country.
Yeah. No, that's what you're doing though. You are selling yourself. Like, they need sell. Yep.
Yeah. Sell.
That's what you're doing. You need to build that trust before anybody's going to purchase from you. Nobody's going to buy from somebody they don't like, and they don't buy from the company. They buy from the person, typically.
Man, that's right. That's right. Well, before we wrap it up, in that context, because it is a principle that is not changing. People buy from people they know, like, and trust. And that's where we started the conversation. In a digital age, in an AI age, how do we leverage the AI or the digital stuff, but maintain the human touch so they actually know, like, and trust a person? I don't want somebody falling in love with my AI agent.
Which happens.
Yeah.
AI girlfriends. Yeah,
right.
this has definitely been a tough one for me. I'm watching it happen. I'm watching the deep fakes. I'm watching these. I mean, we use AI voice. You were talking about it with Morgan on the last one, for Sky Power Wash. But the way I see it, authenticity has become way more valuable just with all this AI stuff that's coming out, and being okay showing your true self is more rare these days. You don't get to see the real person. You get to see this mock-up with a filter, or not even an at all real picture of the person or
Yeah.
video. And I mean, I use ChatGPT like crazy. Large language models are so powerful. It's amazing what it can do. And so I'll use it to build out frameworks for what I want to talk about, and give me kind of bullet points, and help me decide what I want to talk about. But I don't want it to write my entire script. I don't want it to be the one that's posting the content that goes, or the verbiage that goes along with the content that I'm putting out. I want it to be me, and I want it to be flawed. So people need to see nobody's perfect. They need to see your flaws, and that's how they bond with you.
Yeah. Yeah. I couldn't agree more. Well, oftentimes when I reply to an email or something, like I will, if there's a typo, I just leave it.
Yeah.
Because I go, this is me, not written by AI.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I mess up all the time. I go live on Facebook, and then I'll drop something that I picked up in high school, and it's not perfect. It's not something that's probably kosher these days, but it's me. It's just I don't mean to be mean. I don't, there's no intent behind it, but they need to see the real you. It's okay to mess up. It's okay to show people that you're not perfect.
Yeah, for sure. I love this comment. Craig, autocorrect needs me to manage autocorrect.
If I didn't have autocorrect, I can't spell anymore. Autocorrect. I mean, when I try to write something out, it is horrific.
Autocorrect hates me, and always has, because it says it will change things to something that is not. The very first time I ever had voice to text, I was so excited. I had an Android. This was maybe 10 years ago. I'm at Costco, and I text my son. I go, Michael, what size pants do you wear? Because something was on sale. And I hit send, and then I looked at it, and it says, what size penis do you wear? I'm like, no.
Nice.
And I retexted. I'm like, what size pants do you wear? And it says, what size penis do you have? I'm like, who is messing with me? And I go, what size pants? And I just call him.
That was probably an awkward conversation.
It was terrible, but it was great that, father and teenage son, we could have a moment there. But,
oh yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. It's that'll happen. I use voice to text all the time. The best is when you forget to hit stop, and then you start having a real conversation with somebody, and they get to see that whole transcript. I've definitely done that too.
Got that too. All right. Well, I really appreciate you. I appreciate your time. It's good to see you. I look forward to seeing you in a month. Well, 28 days. I mean, 4 weeks from now, I believe is when you're going to be on stage. It's either Thursday or Friday. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, I'm super excited and just very grateful that I have this opportunity, and hope that I can give value to some of your attendants. I know there will be at least 2 or 3 there. So if we get a couple hundred, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, I look forward to seeing you there. Thanks very much. Have a great night.
You too.